Hey everyone, thanks all for being here and letting me share a piece of my story about building Thistle with you. My name is Shiri and I'm the president and co-founder of Thistle. But before I get to Thistle, I just wanted to first say hi as a neighbor. I live in Marin with my family in San Anselmo. I have a 9-year-old daughter named Nava and a 5-year-old golden doodle named Zevi, who would be very upset if I didn't introduce her as well. And I also live with my husband, who is my co-founder. We met 2 decades ago back in college on the East Coast, and we moved out here when we got bit by the entrepreneurial bug. More on that in a second, but I just want to echo everything folks have been saying about the community here. It's just been so amazing moving to Marin. The community is really what struck us, and we just have a little slice of heaven out here. Okay, so I wanted to start with a story that I think pretty well illustrates what it was really like to build Thistle. So here's the visual. I'm standing in the office. It's about Friday night, 7 p.m., and I'm holding a bucket, watching as sewage water leaks in. There had been a pipe that burst in the suite above ours, and it's smelling exactly as you'd expect. Ash and I had long sent the team home. It's just the two of us sitting there, filling up buckets of sewage water and emptying them in the bathroom. We're frantically calling plumbers. No one's available to come fix it. So we do some math. We figure out how long it takes these buckets to fill up, how many hours of sleep can we get before we have to return to empty those buckets. And that's what we did. We set alarms. We came back, emptied buckets of sewage water, and repeated the cycle. And while this story, of course, has nothing to do with things like scaling or product market fit, it does have everything to do with what it really felt like building Thistle more times than I can count. Just a lot of unexpected problems, mostly unglamorous, no playbook, and oftentimes just me and Ash holding a bucket of crap, trying to keep it from overflowing. But let me rewind and tell you a little bit about how I even got here. So I'm the daughter of immigrants. My mom got her PhD while raising us 3 kids, and my dad was an engineer before he decided to become an entrepreneur. And I didn't know it growing up, but I would end up following in both of their footsteps, because first I got my PhD, and then I became a founder. Back in the 8th grade, I had this incredible earth science teacher, Mr. Booley, who really sparked a passion for earth and environmental science in me. And I followed that all the way through college and a PhD. And my PhD examined the intersection of our food system and our environment. And I really loved academia. I actually thought I would stay an academic forever, become a professor. But over time, frustration grew. I was publishing research, but nothing was changing. And I felt like I really wanted to have more of an impact. And I had this one problem that I really couldn't get out of my head. You've heard this a lot. Our food system is broken. Our diets are too heavy in ultra-processed foods and animal products, and they're fueling chronic disease and environmental destruction. And all of the research points to this really powerful solution, which is get folks to transition to more plant-rich, whole food diets. If we all ate that way, we'd be able to drastically cut our carbon emissions, protect biodiversity, our water resources, and save millions of lives every single year. And yet, people weren't doing it. So why weren't we doing more to make this a reality? And that's the problem that Ash and I set out to solve with Thistle. How do we get more people to eat more plants? And it seemed easy in principle, but in practice, it's not, because food is so deeply personal and emotional, and it's identity and culture and habit. And the reasons not to make a change are endless. It's too hard, doesn't taste good, I can't afford it. And so we tried to remove all of those obstacles and make healthy, plant-forward eating just irresistible and effortless. So what did that look like? It meant making meals for all day parts, breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, desserts, everything in between, restaurant level delicious, but ultra fresh and dietitian approved, delivered to your door seamlessly. So that was the idea, and we launched, and of course everything went according to plan, right? Obviously not, and I want to first take you through maybe this Instagram version of events before telling you a little bit more about the stories behind all of those shiny headlines. So we entered the category at a time when food startups were collapsing all around us, but somehow we were still able to raise the capital that we needed. We started Thistle hoping to work with others to make our food. We didn't have a food background, but we quickly realized that if we wanted to have our food be as delicious with as much variety and hit the price point we were targeting, we would have to make it all in-house. A product didn't exist out there. And so despite the challenges of vertical integration, we decided to build out two massive 70,000 square commercial kitchens, one on the West Coast, and when we expanded east, out there as well. We also quickly realized that shipping our products in the mail just wasn't gonna cut it. Our meals were too fresh, too perishable. They got destroyed in the mail. And so we would have to build out our own delivery network as well, Amazon style. And that's what we did. We hired hundreds of drivers, fulfillment centers, logistics, hub and spoke model, and launched in city after city. So it's been 12 years now. We have served 30 million meals to date to thousands of customers across the country, all up and to the right. As you could probably guess, that's not the reality. It's been a much harder journey than this. And I want to spend the rest of the time just talking about that a little bit. So the reality is, I know you can't read this, these are all rejection emails from VCs. And the reality is, I have hundreds of these, maybe more. We were able to raise some capital, but it was a fraction of what we truly needed. And for most of our lifetime at Thistle, we were running on fumes. And more than missing out on capital, each email like this is just a punch in the gut, an emotional punch in the gut, because it's a reminder that the world doesn't believe that what you're building can be real or can make it. But you go on. And without the capital we needed, I talked about those commercial kitchens. We didn't have anything like that for the first 7 years of our existence. What we did have was a tiny shared facility. We had a graveyard overnight shift, and we had some rice cookers. And that's how our first meals were made, just in rice cookers, because we didn't even have equipment or a hood. And we would line them up on tables a few feet from where our tiny team would be answering customer emails or routing deliveries. It was really messy, it was chaos, but it was enough to start and get a little bit of traction. The other part about being undercapitalized is you can't hire the team, the great team that you need to really get you through it. And so for a good part of our existence, Ash and I, we did a lot. And that wasn't just like the typical corporate type functions like marketing or finance or customer support. We were the ones that were on the lines very often, plating meals or delivering them to customers. I can never forget, we had one time we got a panic call from our lead down in LA saying that folks didn't show up for their shift. There was no way we're getting meals out to customers. We had just launched the LA market. So Ash and I got in our car, drove down there, and then spent the next 8 hours packing meals into bags and then driving them to customer doorsteps because there was no one else. And that's the reality of most of my time at Thistle. It's been survival mode. First, it was the internal chaos of building the plane while flying it without resources or know-how and just figuring it all out. And then, of course, it's the external chaos, which has just seems to have exploded since 2020. That you all have lived through it with us, right? And who can forget this day when the sky turned orange, like the world was ending? But some of the hardest times that we faced actually was really recently. 2022, we were in the middle of raising our Series C, and all of a sudden, Russia invades Ukraine. our lead investor, who was heavily exposed in Europe, decided he was going to pull his term sheet. Meanwhile, we were mid-expansion on the East Coast, building out that facility, building out that team, and counting on that capital to get us through to profitability. So overnight, our runway shrank from 2 years to maybe 2 months. We had no idea what to do. We did all kinds of pivots, tore up our plans, had to make some really heartbreaking decisions. We had to let go of employees twice during that period. And it got so dark that I was actually researching quietly, how do I shut down my startup? Because I couldn't see the way out. I didn't know how we would make it. And somehow we stayed and we kept going. Because if there's one thing that Ash and I realized over all of these years of survival mode was that if you can just hang on a little bit longer, eventually something shifts. And for us, one of those turning points came in the form of our first institutional check. We had been trying to get in front of this one VC for some time. And when he finally agreed to have the meeting, he was based in LA. Ash and I pretended we'd be in LA already just so we could make that in-person connection happen. We read his book overnight so we could understand how he thought. We flew down there and we were having a great meeting. I remember he looked us right in the eye and he asked, "Why will you win?" And we didn't pitch our scale or our moat, but it was like 7 years of survival mode came pouring out of me, and I just blurted out, "Because we're cockroaches, we survive." And he laughed, and soon after that, he invested. And that funding was a lifeline, but more than that, it was a foundation because it allowed us just enough breathing room to hire those first leaders who were so talented and so passionate and could do all of these jobs that Ash and I were trying to do, but so much better than we ever could. And it was that team that really allowed us to make it through stronger on the other side. And the truth of it is that in the hardest moments at Thistle, it's felt like I was just at the bottom of this massive mountain, staring up, trying to see the path ahead, no idea how I would make it over. But I realized when I look back that the way I got through it was just by making the next right decision in front of me. And even if I couldn't see the path ahead, inch by inch, step by step, I would make progress. And there's this great quote that I have on here, which deeply resonates with me that I want to share. It's from Ben Chestnut, the co-founder of MailChimp. "It's hard, and just when you think it can't get worse, it does. Meanwhile, everyone else around you is getting better, happier, richer. You feel like you're the only one who hasn't figured it out yet. You're sinking, your life sucks, your business isn't going anywhere, and oh yeah, you're not getting any younger either. And just when you're ready to finally throw in the towel, that right there is the test all founders face. When things get too hard, do you quit or do you stay?" And his advice, before you decide, look at all those great companies that inspired you to start. They stayed. And so we stayed. And I think if there's one thing I hope that everyone takes away from what I've said here today is that Thistle's story is in no way unique. Every single founder out there has faced moments where it's felt like the world was closing in, the walls were collapsing, there was just no way out. But the difference is this: you make the choice again and again that today is not the day you quit. And you keep going. You take that next step. That's what Thistle's journey looked like. It wasn't grand plans or some great strategy. It really was just navigating challenge after challenge, whether it was emptying buckets of sewage at 3 a.m. or navigating a capital crisis. It was with a quiet conviction to stay and take one more step. Because when you really care about what you're building, when you need it to exist in the world. You stay because you can't not stay, because leaving would gnaw at you even more. We built Thistle inspired by the impact we wanted to make on our customers and on the planet. But we survived by making the choice day after day to stay and take just one more step, even if it was the only step we could see. Thank you all.